Welcome back, everyone. Episode 12, of Fit's Health Conscious Corner. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back. We'll just take a few moments to get started and settle in. Sorry, I was a couple of minutes late. Got a lot of stuff going on, getting ready for our big Misfit Club annual support raiser, our third annual support raiser coming up in awareness for cardiovascular health. More information at misfitclub.ca. So just busy meeting our amazing community partners, getting ready to celebrate with all of you, to connect and to play bingo. So many amazing prizes to be won. Fun learning experience, great place to connect, and I hope to see some of you there. So we'll just give a minute or so. Last week we talked about an aspect of cardiovascular disease. We specifically focused on what causes heart attacks and strokes. So we more so were focusing on heart disease. So what causes heart attacks most commonly is an aspect is heart disease. So basically blockages in the arteries of the heart, and it affects a lack of blood flow to the heart, which results in a heart attack. We also touched on blood flow reduction or blockage that is caused caused by blockage, and it affects blood flow to the brain, and that causes strokes or TIAs, so mini strokes. So today, what I want to talk to you guys about, I want to break down and take the word vascular out of cardiovascular disease, and I want to talk to you about, in specific, vascular diseases, so more so diseases that are related to the limbs, so whether it's legs, arms, most often, many of us are more familiar with heart disease and what causes heart disease or heart attacks. And we think about the interruption in the circulatory system. We most commonly think about the heart, and we think about that, blockages and plaque can only affect the heart. But really, plaque buildup, so fatty deposits, cholesterol, calcium, it causes plaque, and it builds up in the arteries and in the circulatory system. So the circulatory system is a network of arteries that is connected all the way from your head to your toes. So you've got a network of arteries that runs all the way from your head to your toes. And when there's an interruption in blood flow, it affects the ability for oxygenated blood flow to pass around your body. So most of the time we think it just affects the heart, but in actual fact, blood flow is needed and required all around the body, and the heart pumps blood through the arteries, through the circulatory system, to feed all of the tissues in the body. So that is, it's everywhere, right? All over our bodies as we have this network of arteries. So what is this plaque buildup that we're talking about? So when you have a buildup of plaque, so these fatty deposits, cholesterol, calcium, it forms this layer of plaque. And what it does is it builds up in your arteries over time. And what it does is it causes a narrowing. So if we think of a highway and you think about a lane reduction, what it does is it funnels all of the blood flow, narrowing it into one lane, as opposed to the multiple lanes that it has to pass blood flow around through these vessels. When we think about plaque, so as it builds up over time, it can cause damage in many ways. So one, progressively over time, the layer thickens, and what does it do? It can cause a rupture of plaque, and that is actually how blood clots are formed. So the plaque ruptures and blood clots are sent around the body, and it becomes very dangerous and severe when that clot can go to either the lungs, the heart, or the brain. Resulting in heart attack, stroke, which can be very fatal for some. And then when we talk about blood clots can be formed by plaque, but they can also be formed, some people are more susceptible, many people, the risk of, after surgery, the risk of clots is very high. So that's why people are often put on blood thinners to reduce that risk. So when we're specifically talking about vascular disease today, I'm going to focus more on interruption in blood flow when it comes to the lower half of the body. So the legs, the limbs, so the calves, the legs. And so again, just to kind of circle back, what is the cardiovascular system? Network of artery, pumping, circulating, oxygenated blood flow around your body, giving minerals and nutrients to the tissues in the body, the vessels, and to the organs, so the major organs that help the body function. So what is vascular disease is any interruption in that blood flow, whether it's caused by narrowing, plaque, or blood clots, which you can think about like a barricade in the road. You can't get around it. It's completely blocked. So that's what happens when there's a clot or a multiple blood clots that form this barricade, and it doesn't allow blood to get around. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about what signs and symptoms that can be present when dealing with that. But I just want to talk about what is common and rare types of vascular diseases. So when we think about interruption in blood flow down to the legs, there's a term called atherosclerosis, and that means it's the process of plaque thickening and hardening. So around the body, in the network of arteries, in the circulatory system. So, and in this conversation, specifically focusing on the lower half of the body, the limbs. So that process is called atherosclerosis. And what it does is it can cause varicose veins. So over time, so it's a progressive condition. And over time, the hardening of the arteries, it causes difficulty walking. It can cause swelling, and it can be very painful. And that hardening of those arteries, the term is called varicose veins. So you may have heard of that term, varicose veins. So it does limit mobility. It limits a person's ability when it comes to blood flow in the legs. Because there's that interruption, it's harder for the blood to get around, so it can cause pain. It can cause limitations in mobility, restrictions. Still very important though to keep walking and to keep moving blood flow, because it's still very important to keep the circulatory system boosted and active, especially when dealing with blockages and interruptions. So again, it progressively, these varicose veins and these narrowing in the arteries, progressively, the atherosclerosis, it progressively causes severe damage. So what can happen, a person might lose their legs over time. It can lead to gangrene, so you might have to be amputated. They might live a very modified life, because there's so much pain in movement, or just many other risks or overlapping conditions that might be caused because of these limitations or because of this interruption in blood flow and organs in the body not getting the nutrients and minerals that's needed. So also, somebody dealing with limitations in blood flow to the legs are at a higher risk of heart attack. So 3 times higher risk than anybody that is not dealing with limitations in blood flow. So that is that increased risk of heart attack because this is a progressively debilitating condition. So what can be done about it? Typically, blood thinners, cholesterol medication, exercise to keep blood flow moving. But often once this starts to happen, it is very difficult to reverse it. That's why cardiovascular prevention is so important. There's factors that cause these things, some risk factors like genetics, also diet, exercise, lifestyle, so lack of movement, poor lifestyle, so and diet in terms of eating foods that's high cholesterol, maybe not monitoring or managing the intake. So I'm not saying, don't have things and enjoy your life. In terms of food, we all love our food, but we also have to just be considerate, moderation, right? And just manage, what we're eating so that we can, keep the cholesterol levels low so that we're keeping that layer of plaque from forming at a fast pace, because everybody in their lifetime is going to have a level of atherosclerosis. So that plaque that develops in the arteries, it is something that statistically 9 out of 10 Canadians have at least one risk factor. And I mean, statistically, we all have a cardiovascular system. So over time, genetically influenced, lifestyle influenced, plaque will naturally build up in the arteries. That's why prevention, again, super, super important. Because, so again, signs and symptoms, some signs of vascular disease do go unnoticed until it's at a point where it's an emergency intervention. So sometimes it's only at 60%, 70% blockage where it's actually noticed, and that need for intervention is so important because it's the risk of heart attack, stroke, it's very high. Right. So again, some of those signs of varicose veins, that hardening happens over time. So you might notice some happening mildly and then progressively you notice more. That is something that, again, you might not notice immediately, but more progressively. When it comes to blood clots, so there's a term DVT, deep vein thrombosis, is when there's a blood clot in the deep, large vein. And that's when there's high risk of a clot sending off into heart, brain, lung. So again, very important. Some signs of that could be, feeling extreme warmth, coughing up blood, also some difficulty walking. You might have infection, maybe ulcers on the foot. So those are some signs where there could be some interruption in blood flow that's getting progressively worse, dangerously worse. There's also another condition with related to aneurysms. So aneurysms can happen, which is a weakening in the vessel in the wall of the artery, and again puts pressure on the walls of the artery, can cause blood clots, can pressure on the vessels where plaque starts to rupture because of that pressure against the wall of the arteries. So abdominal aortic aneurysms are very common. That's when there's that weakening, that bulge in the artery, and it's in the main highway where it's pumping, the blood is pumped from the heart down to the legs. So main highway, and when there's that bulge, is consider it like that barricade we were talking about earlier on. And that's when it's a blockage from blood getting from the heart down to the legs. So very severe, very high risk when that aneurysm is present. If it becomes enlarged, high risk of rupture and internal bleed, which can result, most of the times, if not detected sooner, can result in fatality. I have a rare condition, as some of you might know. My rare condition is congenital abdominal aortic aneurysm. So what makes my condition rare is that I was born with it. What makes it common is that it's a common condition that happens in people, statistically speaking, 40 and up, as of recent studies. So why is that so important to know is because it is something that is common. What makes it rare for me is that I was born with it. So when I had a bypass, an open abdominal aortic bypass surgery when I was 1 month old, they took that aneurysm out and they put my aorta back together with a fake graft. And what makes it rare is that when I'm being born with it, and all grafts having that lifetime on it, it makes it very difficult to know how my life was going to progress and how it still is progressing and how to manage things, because I've had that graft changed a couple of times. So I've had 3 open abdominal aortic bypass surgeries since I've been born. And the pros for people that may have this kind of disease or have an aneurysm in 40 and up is that when you have a graft that might last 10 years, maybe have another one, or just live with that graft and manage life as it comes. For me, I've had so many repairs that at this point it's very, very risky to try another attempt at repair, and especially because the risk to clots are so high. So I've also how the last bypass that I had, that graft, actually half of it my body rejected it and half of it is blocked up by clots. So I have collateral blood flow that my body created to pass blood flow to my left leg, but it's at a 50% reduced rate, right? So I actually am not a candidate for another surgery, and that's extremely difficult to deal with because I deal with a level of pain every single day, swelling, pain management has become pretty trying, and lots of trials and tribulations dealing with it. As many of you know, I'm pretty transparent about it. But so for me, the reduction and progressively this reduction in blood flow, it's putting me at a greater risk. Without any intervention, I am at a greater risk for some of these complications. And it is definitely very real. Again, because I was born with the congenital abdominal aortic aneurysm, I've had these issues with blood flow from my heart to my legs throughout my life intermittently. So complications that would arise, and then having these major surgeries. And these surgeries haven't been easy. So, going through the recovery, greater risk of clots. I've been on and do take blood thinners, right, to keep the blood thin, especially having a half complicated graft right now. So again, there is common conditions and then like mine, a rare condition, but there's so many aspects of it that are common. And that's why learning about this information is super important, because early signs of detection can help you to manage the condition better, help you to preserve your life and have a better quality of life. So again, signs of limitation to a reduced blood flow, if it has anything to do maybe with the aorta, you might notice some bulging in the abdomen if there is an aneurysm. Again, if you're noticing reduced blood flow. You'll notice pain in your legs when you're walking, especially climbing upstairs, pain in your low back, your buttock, swelling. So again, a lot of the times these symptoms, they flare up more noticeably when it's at a stage where it's going to require some immediate intervention. So that's why it's super important to pay attention to your body, to really make sure that you are listening and tuning in to what's happening when it comes to your movement, when you are stationary, because as well as when you have, if there's reduction in blood flow when you're still, again, that can be very dangerous. So super important, monitoring blood pressure, cholesterol, having, cholesterol checked with blood work. Again, monitoring, when you're feeling, if you're feeling shortness of breath, if you're feeling continuously lightheaded, very excessively fatigued, these can be signs and symptoms of a cardiovascular condition, either developing or already developed. So, again, that's just circling back to the fact that a lot of the time we focus on conditions that cause heart attack, stroke, but we don't recognize that any condition that interrupts blood flow anywhere in the body can be very detrimental to your health, because everybody has a cardiovascular system. And again, we're all predisposed to cardiovascular conditions. It's just the matter of what stage in our lives. So prevention is key, very important. Education, awareness, insight. So all of you here today, you're taking that step in, prevention, just because you're here listening and you're receiving this information. On that note, does anyone have any questions for me or feedback? Anything that we're talking about, anything that you can relate to? I know personally, I've gone through multiple complications that it's brought me to my knees, literally can't stand, swelling, severe pain, lightheadedness, so many things that really, really affected my ability to function daily. And making my way back from it and managing it has been super tough. It's a collective, approach, holistic approach, which we continue to talk about here on these episodes. But that's why I'm so passionate about sharing with you signs, symptoms, just giving you insights on cardiovascular diseases, because cardiovascular diseases, it's a group, it's a class of diseases that affect blood flow, either to the brain, to the heart, to the limbs. So that's why I'm really passionate about sharing with you what it is, ways to detect it, ways to manage, to preserve, because it is so important. And I've gone through so many times in my life where, for me, to pass on this knowledge to you guys is something like I wish I had when I was going through it. And a lot of the time I've had to navigate it myself and figure it out and go through that trial and error. And a lot of that time it's involved like a lot of severe pain, and that's mentally, emotionally, physically, limitation, redirection in my life, reinventing myself on many levels, personally, career-wise. There's really been so many elements of, I guess, ways that I can really relate to when it comes to vascular disease. So again, that term, what my condition is rare, but what it can commonly relate to, and when we were talking about varicose veins, the hardening of the arteries, that is actually called Peripheral Arterial Disease. So you might hear the acronym PAD, and that's called it stands for peripheral arterial disease. And that is caused by varicose veins, that is hardening of the arteries, and that's blocking, reducing blood flow, whether to the limbs or to the tissues in the body. So does anybody have any questions for me at all tonight? Thank you so much for tuning in and being here and receiving this information. I know it will be helpful to you, whether it is tonight, whether it is in another day in your life. Just having this knowledge is powerful. Having this knowledge can help you to save a life, to preserve your own life. Maybe, again, just be that vessel of information to somebody else. So this episode will be up live on our YouTube channel, Fitz Health Conscious Corner. So you can always check in and watch the replay. Of course, if you have any questions, feedback for me, you can always type it in the chat, send me a DM. I am so grateful for all of you being here. You guys are so amazing. Thank you for helping to raise more health conscious living in your own life and in the lives of others, because when we do the work on ourselves, we also impact all of the lives around us. So thank you all so much for being here. Tune in next week, episode 13. And again, if you want to attend our Misfit Club event, our 3rd annual support raiser, it's misfitclub.ca. If you want to learn more information about it, about us and our community, and to connect with us, again, just check it out. Also, if you want more information about Fitz Health Conscious Corner, you can check out fitzyogawellness.com. And there's more information about me and our show. Again, YouTube channel, Fitz Health Conscious Corner. Thank you, everybody in health conscious living, love, and light. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Lots of love and light. Bye.